That's wonderful.
It's like he signed on to make those. You know, he was an actor, well respected, won an Oscar, and then he made Click. And
But he's the only
that
good thing
ping
about
pong
that
movie.
Yeah.
What was the ping pong movie?
Balls
Balls
of
of fire.
Balls of Fury.
That took Balls of Steel, I guess.
Yep, he was a janitor.
Yeah, Joe Dirt.
Yeah, it's
I think he just has fun with it.
Yeah,
He's just
I
like,
know,
I don't give a
at this
shit.
point,
I'll
he
be
might
in
as
a
well
movie.
just be.
I need the money.
He's like one of the best people that's like on Saturday Night Live with like the compliment. Wow! Wow! Wow!
Woof. It was like she sprays him with
more cowbell.
Yeah.
It was she sprays him with mace. I've been sprayed so many times.
Yeah.
I'm immune.
This one I purchased at a garage sale. So good.
Would you like
Wow.
some champagne?
Fine caviar?
The Continental.
Yeah. It's the best.
No, wait, don't. Come back. He places himself between her and the door. Where are you going?
Drum solo.
All right, it's 11:45. We'll wait like 2 minutes and let all the other people come in. And then,
Yeah, all the.
Barreling in.
then we'll.
There's people stuck in traffic. They're racing to get
Well,
here.
you know,
They're
as someone
God damn it, lady, drive!
as someone who doesn't live in Pittsburgh, you can be. I've discovered you can be stuck in traffic at like 3 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't.
It's like everyone in Pittsburgh decides to be on this one road that twists and turns, and someone's car breaks down in the middle of it, and then it's like 3 hours to go 10 miles.
I cannot deal with being in traffic for like more than 2 minutes. I start to freak out.
Yeah, first time I came here and stayed at a hotel that wasn't this one, and it's like 4 miles from here. I didn't know that. 4 miles. That'll take 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
It took 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We get a text message alert when people are out of towners or coming to
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's another town.
Cluster, no cluster.
It's got those highway signs. Yeah. The highway signs like Jagoff's coming in.
Yeah, I was.
It's like Funny Farm. Cue the deer.
Those lanes that have like the X's over them so we can control which way the lane's going, it's just so we can get everybody to where everyone is all at the same time. It's simply causing more problems, not to simplify.
God.
Get rid of all of ours like that by making roads a little wider. And 2 lanes that go in the same direction.
It's logical.
Yeah.
You can't
Instead of that one lane that is destined for a head-on because someone's drunk and says remix, yeah.
I drove in this lane this morning.
Yeah, I don't understand.
That's how I got to the bar.
Or the people say, "Oh, it's a turn lane. There won't be anybody in there."
Well, you're in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys actually like fix your roads in the way, in the summertime.
Yeah.
And we still
You don't use that
gas station.
temporary stuff that just pops out the first time it freezes.
No, well, they try to fix it. You can always tell when you have a really icy day and then it warms up. The guys will be out there with that truck pouring the tar in the holes and pounding because the hole's going to be back tomorrow because it's going to ice over again. But they try.
Well, the Ohio roads are really good, though. I mean, I remember driving out for Horror Hounds in Cincinnati, and it was so apparent that the roads were taking care of
can tell when you
because
cross the
as soon as I
border.
left, Pennsylvania's like, I'm like, am I
Sure it is.
It's like, from the mouth of madness, I'm like, am I flying?
Same thing happens when you cross into Maryland.
Yeah.
Like, I knew I went too far south and missed the turnpike because all of a sudden the roads were pristine.
Okay, so we should talk about authorly things or just talk about roads, but that's no fun.
We don't need roads.
We don't need no stinking roads.
Every story has
Yeah.
a road. One man, one road.
So rather than us dictate what we're going to talk about, why don't you tell us what you want to talk about? Because with not counting Dave, 5 of you. We'll count Dave, the 6 of you.
It's a very intimate
You
chat.
count.
It's 2 to 1. It's questions, comments. Okay.
So tell me about Fear the Abyss. I know what Pins is, and I know what Demons, Dolls, and Milkshakes is, but I'm not familiar with Fear the Abyss.
Oh, Fear the Abyss is the last. The last sounds like it's so forever. It's the latest. There we go.
There you go.
Post-mortem press anthology. It was shortlisted for a Stoker Award, and it has some famous people in it. some not so famous people. And these two fine folks who are in the famous category.
Whoa!
All of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, we get the we'll get that the occasional. Is that the Jessica McHugh?
Yes.
I'm thinking there is no other. I'm like, as a matter of fact, it is. Oh,
She related to Maureen McHugh?
I said, I don't know. Ask her.
I still
But
can't even-
so it's short stories.
Okay.
Most of the folks in there are either postmortem press authors or mid-list folks. Mike Arnson, Larry Conley, Gary Brombeck,
Harlan Ellison.
Harlan Ellison.
Which was a huge score.
Don't ever tell Harlan Ellison he's a mid-lister. He'll come to your house and beat you up.
Or at least make a
We'll
very
delete that part of the
angry
video
YouTube
on
video
audio.
This
for
is
you.
for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Those are great.
You know what?
Yeah,
It's
right.
mid-list is up for us, so what the hell?
Yeah.
Well, I think Harlan
You can
is-
find his books in the bookstore, maybe. Well, if you can find a bookstore.
That's right.
Well, Harlan is pretty tremendous to get that book. I mean, that was a
People
huge-
know that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll admit, even though my name's on the cover of that, Paul Anderson, our local Pittsburghians, I don't know, the guy from around here who moved to Virginia.
That guy from here in Pittsburgh, he gave that book.
Yes, Paul, he is friends, sort of, with, he has a love-hate relationship. You call him up and he's real pleasant to you, then you call him up and he yells at you. Not Paul, but Harlan. Paul is responsible for bringing Harlan Ellison to Postmortem Press.
They're frenemies, are they?
Yeah. My only experience with him is when we were publishing this book, his contract says that his name has to have a trademark symbol, or the R. One part of the contract says R, one part of the contract says TM. So he doesn't use a computer, he's deaf, and he's a curmudgeon. He's what's the word curmudgeon in the dictionary? There's his face.
Old school.
So I ask him, it's Eric Beatty, Postmodern Press, we're reprinting the story. The contract says we have to put the symbol next to your name. Is it an R or a T? I don't fucking care which one it is, just put it there. Actually, his voice, I don't care which fucking one it is, just put it there. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. So after that, I decided that Paul was going to be the only person that ever talked to him.
I would love to listen in on a conversation
Yeah.
with Paul and Harlan. It's like, who says fuck more? Harlan or Paul? Because Paul says it.
And Paul's a high school teacher.
Exactly. Yeah,
I think that's why he says it so much when we talk to him, because he can't
He's
say it
letting
at
it
school.
out, yeah.
He's built it up. I got the third period without saying fuck. Great. Yeah. It's like,
he goes in a break room, calls his wife. Fuck, fuck, fuck.
Thank
you.
That's the real reason he left this area. Not because he left the Pittsburgh schools or whatever it is, not because they cut back on teachers, but because he said fuck one too many times. You understand, we can't have people that talk like that in our school system. Oh yeah, fuck you.
That's right. It's like, why do you swear so much in front of your class? Because fuck you. That's right.
So, Nelson, tell us why you wanted to be a writer when you grew up.
You grew up?
Yeah, right.
I said when he grows up.
Well, it was I don't think it's something that you really choose. It just kind of like, that's just what you do. I was raised like veal, and there was no.
Did your mom come in and
Shuddering in
spoon feed you the best grains?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, not even. Yeah, what was the '70s? What do you want? lots of kicks, cereals. I just remember when I was really, really small, like around 5. Well, I was young once. I was never small, and we had a pretty formidable shelf of books. And I would always look at the books. I'm like, wow, what's this? And I couldn't read yet, but I'm like, well, I'd ask my sister. I'm like, what's this? And she'd push me down the stairs, so I'd ask someone else. What's this? Like, it's stories and stuff. And occasionally, the folks would read us a story at bedtime and stuff. I'm like, who writes this stuff? It's like, well, people come up with the stories and then they write them down. I'm like, that's a pretty good job. And and I was torn between being a writer and being a member of KISS when I was growing up. And it turned out to be a lot more fun to be the writer part, and it always just stuck with me, and I just.
Did you ever write like wearing Kiss makeup?
No, I was not. No, I was not allowed
Should
to
try
listen.
it.
I should. I was not allowed to listen to Kiss openly. I was a closet Kiss fan because it was like Knights in Satan's service. I'm like, all right. So I used to sneak over to the kids next door and listen to Kiss records and stuff. But I mean, the writing, it wasn't something that I necessarily. I mean, that's just what I did. I'm like, well, let's see, I'm bored. Let's write a story, and I would write like a little story to entertain myself. And none of my friends gave a monkeys about the story. I'm like, hey, I wrote this story, and they're like, beat him up, he's different. Let's play Star Wars. Okay.
Listen to that whole being raised as veal thing, toughening the meat.
Yeah, right. See, I was being tenderized at a very young age.
You bring up a point because there are a lot. There might be more writers out there, but as I'm a little bit older than you, not a whole lot older, but
Thanks.
yeah, not even younger. But I had the same thing more in high school. I decided to be a publisher because I have adult ADD and I can't pay attention long enough to finish anything I ever start. Ask Jessica, she knows. I have a story I'm supposed to finish. It's still stuck at 8,000 words. It's been 2 years.
No,
so-
hey man, the longer you take finishing it, the longer I have, I can do other stuff
okay.
and I don't have to actually write.
But I decided, okay, publishing is the thing. So you did the whole high school newspaper. We had like a real newspaper that like printed, came out every other week, and real journalism. Oh, the wrestling team. There's a scandal in the wrestling team. Should the people that are trying to lose weight really hang out in the boiler room? Is it good for their health? Oh God, I got beat up for that one. And I'm like, so I don't like this black eye just because I was thinking, dude, it can't be healthy. You put on 8 sweatshirts and you go sit next to the boiler.
That seems crazy.
And then you wrestle. It's like, I don't understand. Oh, you're making fun of this. I'm like, but it all changed when I discovered that the school was screwing with grades. And if you didn't take college track grades, your GPA was automatically started at the bottom. Not at the bottom, but low. So if you were a band person, your A in band didn't count as much as an A in physics.
Ooh.
That's kind of messed up.
And I brought it to people's
Do
attention.
an expose?
Yeah, exactly.
Nicely done.
I was like, hey, be careful about this. And the principal came over the PA and said, just ignore this story. And all the math teachers told me, Eric, you were right. They fixed it. And all of a sudden I went from being a punching bag to the guy everybody was like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Done.
What a
And
nice
then when I was on the Jumbotron at the Richfield Coliseum in Cleveland getting stoned at a Rod Stewart concert. That's how old I am. At a Rod Stewart concert, people were like, oh, wow, that's a part of Eric we never saw.
No, whoops.
I didn't know I was going to be on there.
No one does.
Oh, it's
Here.
It's just a regular cigarette, sir.
Smoking it like a cigarette.
That's the only way I could have stood through the Rod Stewart concert, actually. But,
I think that's most people that go to Rod Stewart concerts.
so, Jessica is quite shares a lot of things online. If you're one of her Facebook followers or bloggers, there's
Overshares.
TMI. Sometimes I'll look at that and I'll just shake my head and say, "Oh my God."
That's my mom's world.
But
Stop talking about your tits.
the reason I mentioned that is because
Please, tell
if
us
you want to
more.
know why Jessica's a writer, I think Jessica came out of the womb with a pencil and a notepad.
Yeah, that's
Because you
true.
have pictures of her
It hurt my mom
at
terribly.
like 5 years old holding up, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a writer.
Yeah. This would be really the only legitimate way I could lie and get paid for it.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, my origin story is similar to other people's. I mean, I was always made up stories and wrote and played way too much make-believe and pretended I was a unicorn bouncing around the house. And my parents are like, we need to make her see somebody.
There's something about Jessica.
Wrong. But eventually they just were like, that's the way she is. Let her go. But when I was about 18, 19, I worked, I had left, or I was booted from college.
Asked to leave.
Yeah, I was very politely asked to
It
leave.
would be best for all involved.
Yeah. I enjoyed my college experience, just not the scholastic side of it. So I worked in a perfume kiosk for 11 hours a day in a mall for minimum wage, perhaps a little bit lower than minimum wage. It was like $5.25 or something
Oh, man.
crazy for 11 hours a day. So, and I sold no perfume, really. No one cares really about perfume. So after I had gotten tired of just walking around the kiosk smelling all the different perfumes, you know, I was right next to like a Walden book, so I was just reading 8,000 books a day and
Nice.
stories. I was just tearing through a lot of Roald Dahl short story anthologies, which if you've never read them are just wonderfully twisted, delightful, just wonderful stories. And I was reading a lot of Lovecraft too, and so after I got a little bit tired with reading, I just decided I was bored, just like the same thing. I'm just going to write a story to entertain myself. They were absolutely horrible. Lovecraft knockoffs.
Only one that goes to Arkham?
Yeah. I went somewhere, I saw something, now I'm crazy. They're all like that. They're terrible. I tried to rewrite them and sell them, and seriously, it's not happening. I think I might just, publish something just for myself so I can save them, but at this point, nobody wants them. They won't even read them. They read one line, they're like, nope, you wrote this at 19, I'm sure. And I started writing fantasy series. Actually, it was only supposed to be one book at the time, but as I got into my 20s, just started writing more, and unfortunately that one is published. Not the last book, but that really, I spent pretty much all the way to 25 just writing non-stop, writing anything I could, writing that series, writing novellas, short stories, just going crazy, not even really thinking about getting published at all. It wasn't until I met my husband-to-be that he really encouraged me to try to do something with the work, and luckily it turned out pretty well so far, I hope. Yeah. But that's why, a lot of it, when I first came out, or I had my first book published, I had like 3 published in 1 year, and people were like, what? And I'm like, no, I had them. They were there. I didn't bust them out super fast. It was just I already had them there, edited them, But then I did start writing them super fast, because I was like, now I gotta keep up. People are expecting me to write a lot of stuff now, so that's pretty much my origin
That's where
story.
you guys are different. Nelson took 5 years to write a book, and you write 5 books a year.
Yeah, that's
Well, yeah.
That's just because I'm crazy, and if I don't write, I go a little bonkers.
Well, we had Eric had a writer's retreat over last summer, and it was really cool just to meet all of these writers that we'd all been in at least one anthology with, or we'd seen their work and stuff. And it was this avant camping trip of all these
Those are
different writers. It was really
so much beer.
Oh, so much beer. And
$600 worth of beer.
I had $500 over.
And it was interesting because everybody has a different style of writing and what their process is. Now, Eric's very right. That did take about 5 years to write. Collectively, like in spans of time, like if I got on a tear, if I added all the time where I was actually seriously sitting down, it'd probably be like around 5-6 months. But it was like I wrote 20 pages and then I had a kid.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I guess I'm not writing this here. And then I kept falling back to it. But back to the retreat, Jessica always had a pen and a notebook in hand with whatever else regardless of whatever we were doing, she was working. I'm surprised she doesn't have one.
I had it at the table, and then I'm like, no, you can leave this.
You can walk away from it anytime you want to, but I choose not to.
Right, Linus?
Yeah, I know, it is. It's like
But-
a security blanket.
She's probably the hardest core work ethic for writing, and it's not really. I mean, there's a difference between your job and your work, and your job is somebody else's work that you're being paid to do. And your work is what you do. We're writers. That's our work, and she's always working. But she pulled it off. Like we were having full panel discussions in the round outside, drinking beer. And she's talking about something while she's editing stuff. And she's like, yeah, well, the process. Oh, that word sucks. and it was like the notebooks and the pens were attached to it. She had like a big fucking binder full of other works that she was
Did I have
working
my big beanbag
Yeah.
desk?
You did.
I have a big like beanbag desk that like opens. I'm just like putting stuff in. Yeah.